So if we're talking about, you know, suddenly being at elevation and not having any time to, get used to it, I would say go for it. You'll be fine. The only thing is you need to temper your expectations, and I would say just not do any workouts. You're there for a week in Mexico City. Keep everything easy, light, disregard the speed, run by effort, and keep it easy. Stay within yourself. Really just monitor your breath rate and just avoid being out of breath. And I think you'll be fine. Health-wise, it really just comes down to your expectations. And I think if you go into suddenly being at elevation and your expectations are to just run easy and enjoy the run, you can do that, but I think that's all you should do. So I usually think that salt-specific chews for like mid-run or mid-race is nah. Most gels, most gels, chews, drinks have electrolytes in them. And even then, the potential benefits of taking electrolytes mid-run are, dubious. They come and go depending on your individual experiences, etc. I've never needed performance-wise for electrolytes outside of, I love science and sport. I do take some pre-run that helps prevent post-run headaches in very warm conditions. But other than that, I've always found, including in marathons, that just whatever comes in the gels is typically good enough. So how I know I'm getting enough protein in my diet is I'm not losing weight, so I am eating adequate calories to not lose weight. So my energy consumption is up, and it comes primarily from whole food, plant-based sources. I eat plenty of seitan, tofu, my soy milk that I drink. Is it soy milk? It's cashew almond milk, but it has 10 grams of pea protein per cup, which is a pretty decent amount, more than cow's milk. And so I'm eating plenty of nutrient-dense foods. Once in a while, I'll log a few days to get a count of my calories, my carbs, my protein, and through the numbers, through my weight, through my energy consumption, I'm eating enough protein. So that 180 steps per minute, you don't have to be there unless it is where you should be at. Coincidentally, I'm at around 178 to 184, depending on the race, my speed, the slope, etc. For a fast downhill section, I'm going to be at a lot higher step rate than a slow uphill section, for example. I would say if you're under 165, that's probably pretty low for most people, but your height plays a factor, your speed, etc. What I'm trying to say is there's a lot of considerations, and 180 isn't just the perfect number for everybody. 170 is probably okay for many people. And the proper step rate should change. And you're probably okay where you're at. So when it comes to plantar fasciitis and shoe selection, it might not be super important to go with one with arch support or motion control or anything like that. With plantar fasciitis, there are stretches you can do. There are massaging. You can have a golf ball like under your desk and massage with that a few times daily. Doing some stretches where you bring your toes up can be helpful. Lower leg, foot, and ankle strengthening, super helpful. All this is probably much more important than any sort of supportive shoe that may help or may simply weaken the feet. Strengthening the feet, making the feet healthy is where it's at. And a lot of that is through mobility, strength work, stretching. Also wearing a Strasbourg sock or night splint during the night may help as well. So the treadmill and speed and perceived exertion can be tricky, can be all over the place. Who knows if that treadmill has ever been calibrated, so the speed it shows could just be way off. Outdoors you have inclines, declines, temperature, you have wind, that can all change the perceived exertion. On the treadmill, nothing is moving by you, so that may increase your perceived exertion. If you're at a gym, having people around you can decrease your perceived exertion and increase your speed. Because people around you, that's why you're able to run so fast in a race. You can tolerate higher levels of discomfort. Your perceived exertion goes down. It might be hotter indoors, might be colder. So there's a lot that goes into it. You might just be bored. So I usually say run by heart rate and don't mind the speed so much. So for a November marathon, we are about time to start thinking about it anyway. When a runner comes to me for coaching, when I'm working with a runner towards a fall marathon, having a good 16, 20 weeks is really great. And that just gives us plenty of time to ease into the quality work, ease into the long runs, but focus really well for 1 or 2 months on strength, mobility, get ready for some plyometrics. So we're working on strength work early on while the running volume and intensity is low. So that way in 2 months you're stronger than you otherwise would have been. And so in a case like that, the longer you have, the better. Now is a really good time to really start focusing on strength work for something like New York in the fall. So I am a big fan of Coros, that's C-O-R-O-S GPS watches. I've used their entry-level one is the Pace 2, and it's $200 USD, and it gets 30 hours of regular GPS use, 60 hours in ultra mode, and it's also, I think, the lightest GPS watch currently available. So it's inexpensive, it's super light, and it's not, I like it because it's also fairly minimal, it's small, it's not a smartwatch. It does a variety of tracking modes. I went on a hike earlier today with it. It does, pretty much anything you can want, including swimming. It's water resistant, etc. So check out Coros, C-O-R-O-S, and let me know what you think. Okay, so one thought with quad issues after runs would be doing some quadricep training, some eccentric training. You could do eccentric hops where you hold a dumbbell out in front of you and hop on one leg to eccentrically load the quad. That kind of mimics downhill running. You could also I'm a big fan of downhill repeats to work on leg turnover and eccentrically loading the quads while running briskly. And that can be a big, something people miss, doing downhill eccentric quad workouts. But during a race, half of the distance is downhill and you're running pretty hard. And so look into doing something like that to maybe prep the quad for future races. So I agree that the Polar GPS watches and heart rate monitors, they used to be number one, but their GPS watches have, in my opinion, they've fallen behind. Garmin is probably still the top dog. Suunto is up there. Timex, where'd they go? Polar had their chance, I think. Still valid options, but in my opinion, Garmin and it's really between Garmin and Coros. Coros, you can get a $200 GPS, lightest GPS watch available, and it goes 30 hours in normal GPS mode, and that's pretty awesome on such a minimal profile watch. So that's my answer. Best GPS watch is the Coros Pace 2.